Hello. So this is the continued video about the four quadrant equation, and especially in relation to 923, September 23rd. One thing that I would like to add about the March the 23rd blood moon. So that was the perfect pattern. Of the 4 to 6 pattern, and just so important that because on September 16 to 17, this date would be the 6th blood moon, but it's not part of the territory, but it's still blood moon, which would not be forming the 4 to 6 anymore, but 5 to 6, which is out of the 4-digit pattern connecting with the 4 to 7 Pentecostal marker. That's why March 23rd is very important, and that's why it's so important to go back to August, because both Pentecostal targets are targeting the late boundary or dates of the months, because it's targeting the late boundary, and that's why for September to go before September 16 to 17, it must be through reversing back to August, and with November, backward quadrant will be August, so that's also before September 16 to 17, because that's actually a marker for us to not to go beyond that as a reference, because that would be 5 digits of the number 6, and that would be out of the pattern. And so that's why the 23rd of March blood moon was very significant. So another thing about 623, because June 23rd is also equal to 923. Back in 2015, there were 2 major earthquakes in Nepal. One in April 25th, the other one in May 12th. Both landed on layer 6 and layer 23rd, matching 2015's second Pentecost in June 23rd, equals to September 23rd, 2016, for the quadrant. This was referring to the impact zones in order. That was pointed to California first, and New York the second one. Both Nepal maps rotated and America's map combined. We could see there's a message behind that. In Psalm 7 chapter 2 verse 10 and 13, it mentioned the word come away twice. And so playing with identical verses, adding 10, 13 together is the number 23. So therefore, all the a lot of the starting dates of the Pentecostal boundaries on 23rd, as 22nd as well, and it's also with the identical verses in Psalm chapter 2, 17, and chapters 4, verse 6. Adding both together would be 623. So that's saying that the second Pentecost was very important. And So that's why September could be the possible time when the three plus shipwrecks, and so why California and New York City are the target of judgment, because the idols and high places of this world will be shaken. For example, Hollywood in California, and well, just all kinds of scenes that have been promoted, and even in Revelation 18 was referred to the falling of New York City, and the World Trade Center is described in Ezekiel 21, and the Bible said that money is the root of all evil, and so I'm not gonna say everything, but anyway, so since this video is still not long enough, I'm gonna merge with the 9 primary bases about the Pentecostal 777 marker. I mean, like 7777 marker. So when we do the clockwork of Genesis chapter 1 to 24 in book of Genesis, it's very interesting to see that early chapter 7 in Genesis 7 was mention of the word sevens for 4 times. One in verse 2, one in verse 3, one in verse 4, one in verse 10. This is very important to see that early in Genesis chapter 7, which is the most intensive chapter about a worldwide judgment, and perfectly resembling Rosh Hashanah of 5777 in October 24. This year, 2016, Rosh Hashanah will be October 24. Well, Rosh Hashanah could also be seen as September 24. That's not a problem at all. But it's also October 24. Like who knows if God uses both timing. But definitely in here, this chapter is showing that October is very important. Especially like October 24. So this is except for saying that Genesis chapter 9 verse 23 is something that's very profound, as I find it one of the most profound verse in the Bible. This one is the second one that I found it the most profound verse in the book of Genesis. Why it's so profound? Because this is relating to Rosh Hashanah. This is not saying that the time of Rosh Hashanah will be the time of the barley harvest. But when we put it into calculation, 72 times 73 times 74 times 710 is 276, 150, and 240, and that's a perfect number. When we add 276 plus 150 plus 240 equals to 666, and also 72 plus 73 plus 74 plus 710 equals to 929. 7 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 10 equals to 26. This 4 I'm gonna explain later, but getting this out directly from the scripture, it's pretty convincing, because they're saying that the time of October 24 must be a very significant date, and this, I believe, would possibly be the time of the 3 days of worldwide darkness, And why? Later I'm gonna explain. And once again, I'm saying this is a speculation. But I'm saying this because a lot of signs are confirming October 24, and also dates surrounding that. So anyway, moving forward about Genesis 7. So Genesis 7 is a very interesting chapter. Well, if you read it through slowly, if you try to identify identical verses or identical verses with similar meanings, it's very interesting because it kind of talked about the worldwide flood into like the account of that twice. So just as 3 post shipwrecks could also be referred to the eve surrounding the 6 seal event, but also the 3 post shipwrecks could also be seen as a more kind of like a combination of different events. Like Genesis 7, I see that as the first 4 shipwrecks. So a lot of things come in 3. The Bible, well, a lot of things come in threefold, even with calendars. George, Enoch, and Elijah must be worked together, and just a lot of 3, like 3 days of darkness, and a lot of 3. So 3 post shipwrecks. Genesis 7, I do see that as first one, because it was about the Noah's Ark, about the ship, and it was a shipwreck because it was the rain and judgment. And the second and third, I see that as a 6 seal, which is in the form of a worldwide judgment as well, and the global earthquake. And the third shipwreck would be the Great Tribulation, because it's going to be a worldwide sudden destruction at the time of the Rapture. That's going to be a worldwide scale, just as Genesis 7. So that's, threefold again, 3 post shipwrecks. So that's not really Eve, but also like back in time, days of Noah, and also right now in the final generation that we're in. And so that's why sometimes a term in scripture could also refer to 2 different meanings. And so first of all, I'm gonna talk about number 240. America has turned to 340 years old back in the 4th of July this year, 2016. 240 years old. And America is a Pentecostal country because it consists of 50 states in America, representing the number of Pentecost. And Obama's birthday is also pretty ironic because it perfectly fits in the pattern, his birthday being on the 4th of August, and he represents America. And they're like connecting July and August. And it's gonna be further explained about the relation of July and August in Acts chapter 27. When this saying that the number 240 is Pentecostal, and even with America, like her birthday is like on 4th of July, and that's 4 of 7. That's once again the number of the 4 of 7, which is America being Pentecostal, relating to number 240 in relation to Genesis chapter 7, worldwide judgment, From Genesis 1, so in another perspective of seeing the number 150, which is representing the beginning of the end, Genesis 1 ends its book on chapter 50. So it makes up the number 150. Revelation starts with chapter 1, ends with chapter 22. And makes up the 122. And so, once again, we see 122, 150 as the beginning of the end code. So the Genesis 7 result consisted of the number 150 and number 240. So what's the meaning of that? It's actually backing up the confirmation of August and November. So not only the Sabbath commandment in Exodus chapter 20 verse 8 to 11 and 8 and 11 again, referring to August and November, but also the number 150 is actually like confirming this. But later I'm gonna explain. Also that Song of Solomon 2 would mention about the apple tree. So it was like talking about kind of like the bride and bridegroom. So obviously that's a bride of Christ and bridegroom Jesus, and it's kind of like love story surrounding the apple tree. And the end, we have to revisit the beginning where the apple tree started, representing the wisdom tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Genesis 2 and 3 only mention about this apple tree. You don't see it in chapter 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, etc. But especially in 2 and 3, so the number 23 is very important. Purim was a marker this year, counting from the first Pentecost last year, May 24th, 2015 to February 23rd, 2016. Purim was 276 days. Counting from the second Pentecost of last year to this year, Purim. So there's kind of like two Purims. One was in February, one was in March. So the one in March was like March 24th, 2016. Purim was 376 days. So now we can see 276 days is related to Purim as well. So you may wonder what's the significance of the number 2 and 3 and the number 276 days. Well, for now, 2 and 3 in November. During the time of November, it's pointing to 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock is 23 o'clock, and that's number 23. So that's actually confirming the number 23 being related to 11. So Purim is a very important festival because the Israelites were set free from being destined to death, and Esther was going before the king. So in her like it's kind of symbolizing that like the humans like fallen like this fallen humanity that that each and every one of us will not be able to escape death because of the curse of sin. But this final generation is a special generation because it will see the return of Christ. And the bride of Christ is represented by the children of Israel. He will not taste death through the rapture. And as the represented bride, word bride will go before the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, and she too will be given a signet ring during Hanukkah, just like in Haggai chapter 2 verse 18 to 23, mentioned about Hanukkah in Kislev 24. So it's saying that the time of Hanukkah is very important, but it's not saying that December is a time. It's saying that using the Hanukkah method is very important in September and November. So just as Passover is not literally in April and May, but it's actually combining several festivals together into one single point. So at the same time, you can get different meanings from different festivals. So not like we have to go to Hanukkah, and because we need to also get into kind of like a wider perspective of different festivals and use them together. Passover is important, Hanukkah is important, Feast of Tabernacles is important, Feast of Trumpets is important, but then to use them together, that's what it is, because they're there for a reason. So in the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 18 to 23, so it says that I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the chariots, ... and then it mentioned about 4th and 20th day of the 9th month, about Hanukkah. So shaking the heavens and the earth, this is referring to the sixth seal, because that's the earthquake. And so this saying that during the time of Eve, Freeport shipwrecks, it's gonna be using the Hanukkah boundary, and so that's why later I'm gonna explain about this. Very possibly not in this video. It's gonna be really back to F22, which is equally seen as May 22nd. So, why number 23 is very important? Well, first of all, number 23 is a number of redemption. There were 2/3 of angels who stayed in heaven, while 1/3 of angels fell from heaven. So 23 is actually going back to apple tree, right? And so it was the tree that started the fall. So that's very important because it's all about the tree. And going to November with the 23 connection, it's kind of like saying that possibly that month would be the possible month of the fall, because the tree is very important. It's something that what started the fall, and what happened in the beginning will happen at the end. The scriptures often have that kind of pattern where the end mimics the beginning, and they're just kind of like a mirroring thing. Even with back in time of the Garden of Eden, there were 2 trees, and the cross was a tree, and it was represented by a T. And 2 trees is 2T is a pi. And pi started with the number 3, and that's why number 3 is very, very, very important. And that's why August is very important as well, referring to code 34. But also that number 3 is a woeful number because it's an odd number. Number 3 is kind of related to iniquity because it's not equal, because it's an odd number. Well, the number 2 is an even number, so that's why. And also pi is kind of inclined to stay in the middle. You can see it in a dual alphabetical system. You position pi in the middle of the list. But with the Bible, it's also the same. It was written in both Greek and Hebrew. If you read in the original way, the Hebrew's Bible starts from the right. The Greek starts from the left, and they're all comes in the middle when they read until the end. So from right to left of the Hebrew's Bible, Greek is from the left to the right. They're all meet together, where Malachi meets Revelation of the end of the Bible's Greek and Hebrew. It's saying that pi is related to Malachi and Revelation. So what's with Malachi and Revelation so special? It's gonna be explained, which is confirming the Passover boundary. But maybe I'm gonna talk now. Why it's important, because for example, for now we can see that pi is not about judgment. Pi is also about transformation. We could see the pi analogy, P-I-E, food, where you can see that it's about infusion of the Holy Spirit, about Pentecost. But Malachi meets Revelation. Malachi ends on chapter 4. Revelation ends on chapter 22, and that's 4:22. So that's actually echoing back to April 22nd of the Passover this year, which is very important to be used as a boundary on November. Passover is a boundary, and that's why no one knows the day or the hour, and so. But anyway, with the also, once again, we're back to the Genesis 7 result. There was a number, a really long number, 276, 150, 240. When we look on the clock, we know that 276 is a pregnancy number. So that's referring 115 to 240 is something Pentecostal, as representing by America, but also is about beginning of the end, but also is a pregnancy marker in relation to these two numbers. So when we look on the clock, 150 degrees point to August, and 240 degrees point to November. So that's confirming August. November is going back to August. That's 240 and go back to 150, and so that's what it is. That's a confirmation. So that's actually saying that November going back to August. So in relation to the pregnancy count, and there's a further confirmation because I'm not just kind of making up and saying oh, that's 150 degrees, 240 degrees, so that must be November back to August, but it's also backed up by 666. 666 is representing the Great Tribulation, so that's pointing to November. 276 plus 150, 240, 666, so that's actually pointing to the Great Tribulation in November. And it's interesting November is a month that is uh like a lot of festivals, and especially when it comes to November, it kind of this kind of no festivals, like not a lot of festival, or sometimes just not no festivals during this time. And so it's pretty much hidden in plain sight. But anyway, so and the number 929 and the number 26, which will be explained in the next video. But for now, I would like to say that before ending this, so that every year, and since 2001, the time of 11 September, it's always been so kind of a great morning of the world, and remembrance of the terrorist attack. And it was not just a morning for America, but also for the world. And so that's why it's kind of like hinting that from September to November it could very possibly be a time of great mourning as well, and time of remembrance of those who were lost in time of that attack. And so that's why it was there for a reason. It was not just some random terrorism, but it was kind of a huge marker, a divine marker, to time that we're in. And so I'm gonna end here.